I'm Cynthia Eriksson, and I am a professor of clinical psychology and the chair of the PsyD program at Fuller School of Psychology and Marriage and Family Therapy. In addition to teaching and mentoring students in research and walking with students in the PsyD program and trying to make that a good experience, I do research and teaching and training in the area of trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder, in particular for those that work in cross-cultural environments or in international settings. And also I love to bring spirituality and think about faith and how spirituality fit into that experience. In watching this video, we're going to be talking about trauma and different types of trauma. So some of the things I might say include different kinds of experiences that you may or may not have had in your life or have connections with. And I won't go into details, so I won't give explicit descriptions of those trauma experiences, but you may notice, and that's okay if you find yourself, your attention wandering or needing to kind of take a break or step up, that's absolutely fine. And you're also welcome to fast forward through times it might feel like a lot. But I do encourage you to think about, what are you being invited to, even in that recognition? What are you being invited to see for your own sense of being present with others when you're hearing those stories? Because we all need to grow in our capacity to suffer with each other. And that's but finding healing and comfort for our own suffering is an important part of that. The way that I would describe trauma is something that is a threat to your existence. The reason why I use that terminology is the ways that it can be understood in various ways, from a very straightforward type of trauma, like a car accident that might be life-threatening, and you experience all of your bodily reactions to that threat. And if you don't have the chance to process that, or if there's some other risk factors, you may experience that in a longer-term distress. But there are other types of threats to existence that are more subtle or chronic, but still have that same type of reaction or traumatic response in our bodies and in our minds as well. So someone can experience racial trauma through consistent microaggressions where they're treated as invisible, or their value is questioned, or they're treated with subtle aggression or hostility. So they're always kind of uncertain of where they stand or if they're safe. That's a type of threat to existence too, and it has traumatic implications. And then there are things like child neglect, which, while a parent may not be overtly threatening the life of the child, emotional types of abuse or parental neglect is a threat to the child's sense of self and their own existence. So it could be, existence related to neglect in terms of not having the food that they need or not being able to thrive, or it could be ongoing psychological abuse where the child feels like nothing. And their own sense of self doesn't get to develop, and their sense of their value doesn't get to develop. So you can see how trauma is very connected to so many different experiences in our world. Even just a very basic kind of question of trauma as life threat. A study that was done 20 years ago, so this is even before, or more than 20 years ago, so it was even before 2001, the experience of the Twin Towers and the bombings. A study in 1995 indicated that 60% of the U.S. population reported having a life-threatening experience in their life. So that's over half, and that's even before what we've experienced more recently in the last two decades of global kinds of issues. So trauma is really everywhere. And a big question then in doing trauma work is, why is it that some people recover relatively quickly through their own resources or through their own social support systems or other kinds of things that they have around them, that they have what they need? And why is it that some other folks and communities really struggle with ongoing distress?